are bold, you are fearless, you are radiant. It's time to unlock the diamond from within. BFF, we rise above, stronger together, we shine with love. Faith unshaken, hearts on fire, fearless souls, we're reaching high.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the BFF Empowerment Podcast. I am your host, Blaque Diamond, and with me today, I have the privilege of speaking with Miss Diane McDowell. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
All right. Well, do you mind telling the listeners a little bit about yourself before we jump in?
Yeah, so I am a therapist and I also do coaching. So I do therapy and coaching. I really specialize now in the area of the brain hijack and how the brain is really gets hijacked and how that interferes with our ability to use the skills we know we should use. We know tools to communicate. We know how how we want to show up in relationships, but often we aren't able to because our brain gets hijacked. So that's
Mm-hmm.
the area I focus on now. I
Mm-hmm.
actually was raised in a religious cult until I was 14. And then when we left when I was 14, I had a lot of culture shock getting placed in seventh grade and not being able to read because of dyslexia. And
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't have any healthy relationships really. I had a lot of people pleasing and I didn't know what healthy relationships looked like. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how I got into this area in the first place.
Wow. Story of my life. Not the cult part, but definitely the people pleasing, the not knowing healthy relationships, things like that, and just kind of going with the flow just to keep the peace type of. That's exactly how I used to be, growing up. And after I became, blind and things like that, not realizing who I was. So I did a lot to mask and be who I thought people wanted me to be.
Yeah. So many of us, it doesn't matter where we grew up, so many of us struggle with people pleasing and showing up the way we think other people want us to show up and ignoring ourselves.
So true. All right. So you said that you grew up in like a religious cult, until you were 14.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so do you know what made your parents decide to just, forego what they previously believed or thought the life that they were living was correct and to expand on something different?
So what happened is as the kids all got older, so there was a lot of kids older than me and then some younger than me. And as
Hmm.
the kids got older, people started realizing what was happening was wrong
Hmm.
and it started to fall apart. So it wasn't so much that my parents chose to leave as I mean they did ultimately, but it was more that it was really falling apart that kids were getting old enough to start saying, "Hey, there's something wrong with this." And we lived on a farm in Pennsylvania
Hmm.
around Amish. So it was kind of normalized, but kids started getting off the property and talking to people and started to realize that what we were doing was not
Yes.
norm.
I love the Amish. I've always wanted to go visit like an Amish community. Like I used to read books on the Amish. The life seems very hard,
Yes.
a lot of work, but it just seems so fascinating that yeah, people still live like that. And I've always been interested in visiting. And I know, yeah, in Pennsylvania there's a huge Amish community. I know in Ohio there's a huge
Mhm.
Amish community. So in different areas, like yeah.
Yeah. And there's beauty to it, but there's also not such
Hmm.
good things around the Amish and where we grew up. And when we were raised to, garden and create our own food and raise our own cattle and chicken. And so there is
Hmm.
very useful things, but then there is also such detrimental things that
Hmm.
come with it. So,
Yes. Yeah, I completely understand because yeah, I would love to. I've always wanted to actually live on a farm, even though I know it's like a lot of hard work. And I've always actually wanted like to plant and grow my own food, but I have so
mhm.
many different allergies to ants and insects and things like that. And me being able, not being able to see, it kind of makes me shy away from that because I don't want to potentially put myself in a dangerous situation where I get bit or something because I don't realize like, oh, there's a ant infestation or there's so I
Yeah.
just kind of like, I wish, but
Yep. Yeah. And I don't know. I think it's a so as I get older, it's so much hard work. My sister still does it. She's a little older than me, but I think it's just so much hard work that I I do not have it in me anymore
Mhm.
to do. I've gotten too citified, I guess.
Citified, yes, definitely. And so with the work that you do, and you said kind of a lot of what you deal with now is due to what you went through as a kid or,
Yeah.
your lifestyle. And so how has that impacted, how you treat relationships now that you've learned since you've left?
Yeah. So, one of the things I realized, so I've been married 24 years now, but
Hmm.
when I left, I was searching for, when we left, I was 14, I was searching for some relationship. And so I got stuck, caught up in a lot of relationships and that weren't healthy. So
Hmm.
unintentionally, I was looking for what I didn't actually want, but I didn't understand that at the time. And then I
Hmm.
became a therapist. I finished high school. I had some support people, amazing support teachers and vocational rehabilitation that helped me with getting into college and finding a area. And I became a therapist. I truly believe because of what I had gone through, because of wanting to help other people when they were in their worst space.
Hmm.
And I tribute my inability to really do book work, to read and comprehend very well books,
Hmm.
made me much more intuitive with people.
Yes.
So it's like when you're lacking in one area, you strengthen another area.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so for that I really attribute my dyslexia to really honing my people skills and really loving and making. So I was everybody's little therapist. So it was natural that I went into therapy. And so I got my degree and started working with people. And what I knew was I knew the skills. I knew how to have a healthy relationship. I knew what it looked like once I became an adult, but I still
Hmm.
didn't know how to implement it because when your brain gets hijacked, all those wonderful skills and tools and ideas you have about how you're going to show up as a person with your friendships or your partner, they
Hmm.
go out the window when your brain gets hijacked. So I
Yes.
started watching this with myself and trying to understand like what happens. I want to be different. I know I want to show up different. I don't want to say mean things, but I couldn't stop myself. And
Mhm.
that's when I started understanding the brain hijack and that our nervous system is designed to keep us safe. So it's scanning for danger all the time.
Mhm. Especially when, yeah, you've been through trauma and,
Yeah.
gotten out, yeah, you're definitely going to be on more high alert. And unfortunately for me, I've been through a lot of trauma. Before going blind and since after, even into adulthood. So yeah, my brain, I definitely feel like has always been on high alert, super cautious, cautiously optimistic, just hoping for the best, but always in the back of your mind, you have that little, it's like, okay, yeah, things are going too well. What's going to happen
Yeah.
to mess
Yeah.
this up?
And so when you're in a relationship, friendship, partnership, boss relationship, it doesn't really matter. When you're scanning for the danger, you see it. Whatever you look for, you find.
Hmm.
That's called the confirmation bias. Whatever we are looking for, we find. But what happens is because we're scanning for danger, we can't ever really be present in the relationship. There's like this sense of pressure inside us all the time. And
Hmm.
it's like you can't absorb emotional safety and connection when you're on edge, when you've got this sense of pressure or urgency just sitting inside you.
Yes.
And so what
Wow.
I help people do is start to recognize that brain hijack and work with it. And so I really teach befriending your brain. Your brain is your asset. It's not trying to sabotage you. It does unintentionally. I use the analogy of a dog. So do you have a dog?
No.
Okay. Those of us have dogs. I have a black lab. When somebody comes to the door, our dogs bark, but they're
Hmm.
not vicious. They're not trying to kill someone. They're just that's what their nervous system.
Alerting. Yeah,
Yes.
like there's someone here. There's a
So it's
presence.
the dog is doing its job. And that's the same thing with our brain. Our brain is doing its job to protect us. So we have to learn to work with it. So many people actually try to fight with their brain and they're like arguing with their brain. And I call that the tug of or. And I tell people, drop the rope. Like, don't argue with your brain.
Yeah, you're not gonna win.
Yep. Mhm.
You're just putting more stress on the brain than just absorbing and seeing what exactly it's trying to tell you.
Yeah, yeah. And so one of the first step that I teach people is, first of all, your emotional safety is your responsibility.
Hmm.
And it sounds a little harsh sometimes, but here's the thing: when you own that, you get the power over it. So when we outsource it to other people, when we say, if you behave different, then I'll feel better. If you would change what you're doing, then I would feel okay. We outsource it to other people, our happiness, our emotional
Hmm.
safety. So we have to learn to take that back and take full ownership. It is my responsibility, nobody else's. When we
Exactly.
do that, then we get the power to start managing it and working with it.
Yeah, that's something I've always said, because I'm also a motivational speaker. And so I do that a lot. I tell people, and, I had to learn this myself that, yeah, you can't put your motivation, your faith, your happiness 100% on someone else. Like someone else
Mm.
can come in and contribute to that, but it has to start with you first. You have to be and know how to make yourself happy. You have to be the one to motivate yourself. You can't be dependent on somebody else to be your motivation.
Yeah, yeah,
Because if that
100%.
person's not there, then what are you going to do? You're just going to fall by the wayside because there's nobody there to hold you up and to prompt you and to push you into doing what it is you need to do.
Yeah. And part of the problem with putting it on them is, and I see this in relationships a lot, where there's the people pleaser and the people pleased. And the people pleased person feels an obligation to make sure they're always telling the other person how great they're doing by pleasing them. So there's the
Mm-hmm.
one that's like pleasing them. So I'll give it a specific example. I had a couple I was working with, and he would buy trips and do all these kind of elaborate things. And her job was to be like always praising him for how great he was doing. So she
Mm-hmm.
started feeling pressure that it was like, I'm supposed to jump up and down, and I'm supposed to always make sure my job is to make sure he feels good about what he's doing to people please me. And so
Mm-hmm.
everybody's taking on a role in the relationship. And so they're really not present. They're really not showing up for who they are. They're showing up for who they think the other person wants them to be.
Exactly. I've went through that a lot in relationships and of just like, be who you are naturally. Like don't do what you think it is I want to do because at the end of the day, if I'm not around and that's not really who you are, it's going to show. You're only going to be able to hold that up for so long.
Yeah. What I teach my clients is people pleasing is lying, and it chips away at your relationship with yourself. Every
Mm-hmm.
time you people please, it chips away at your relationship with yourself. And I had a client who texted me after a session because I have texting support between sessions. And she
Mm-hmm.
said, I don't understand the problem with people pleasing. She was like, still, even after our conversation, I don't understand. And my response to her was, the difference is, because she was like, I don't see a problem with being nice. I don't see a problem with helping people. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not, that's not a problem. The problem is when it's at your own expense.
Yes.
So we want to be kind and supportive and helpful to the human population. We're all humans doing the human thing. But when it's at our own expense and when we're lying about it, that becomes a problem.
Hmm. And I've definitely done that in relationships, trying to make the relationship work just because I don't want it to be a failure, or I know the other person really wants the relationship, but I don't feel like it would work or it's good for us, but then I just stay just to appease them but then yeah, I end up miserable.
Yeah, you lose yourself as you
Mm-hmm.
accommodate for someone else, you lose yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So the first step that I teach people in figuring out how to end the hijack is really just become the wise watcher. And the
Mm-hmm.
wise watcher is that place where you can watch what's happening without getting sucked in. You can hear words and not make them mean something about you. So you
Mm-hmm.
step back. It's kind of like you can't read a piece of paper when it's touching your nose because
Mm-hmm.
it's too
Too
close.
close, yeah.
Yeah. And you can't be the wise watcher when you're sucked into the pit of cycling emotions and drama. So I teach people to first start becoming the wise watcher. Step back enough that you can see what's happening, where you can stay emotionally safe and not jump in the drama pit.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Okay. I can see that.
Yeah. So that's like the first step. A lot of times people say, what's the first thing I can do? And the first thing to do is just to start to watch your thoughts. Like
Hmm.
most of us know we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, and most of them are repeat from the day before and the day before. So
Yes.
just starting to notice what we're thinking and how that's creating how we feel.
Hmm. Yeah, I've always believed in yeah, your thoughts. You can manifest things just by thinking them. And a lot of times if they're negative, yeah, you can manifest those negative thoughts into your reality.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
be conscious of what you're, I mean, nobody can, fully always, but I usually try to say like try to keep as many negative thoughts out of your mind as possible.
So, what I teach there, and there's different theories, but I do a lot of acceptance and commitment therapy and that their training. And what acceptance and commitment therapy says is we can't necessarily control our thoughts, but what we can do is control whether we give them attention or not. So,
Hmm.
acceptance and commitment therapy does a lot of training with imagine turning the volume down on them, or you just don't pay attention to them. Acceptance and commitment therapy says whatever tiger you feed gets bigger, whatever
Hmm.
thought you feed gets bigger, more demanding, more ingrained in your nervous system. So you
Hmm.
want to make sure you're not feeding negative thoughts.
Got it. Hmm.
So I use the example if you're standing by a highway, cars go zooming by, they zoom, zoom, zoom. And then if you judge the thought and try to make it bad, right, wrong, something, if you judge the thought, you actually create a traffic jam.
Hmm.
So what we want to do is stay out of judgment and just notice them and be like, "Oh, there's that thought. There's that thought."
Yeah.
It's just neutral. And so when we stay out of judgment, there's no traffic jam. It just keeps on going.
Hmm. Yep, that's true. Yeah. Okay.
So first thing is become the wise watcher that I
Hmm.
teach. Then one of the things that I teach, and there was a thought I had on that I kind of wanted to jump back to. Um, letting thoughts just be neutral. But another step that I teach is about not seeing words as neutral. Words have no power until we judge them and give them power.
Hmm.
So really starting to notice, do I want to give this thought a power? Do I want to give somebody else's words power? Or can I just see them as words? Here's how I teach it is in the brain, we have facts and we have drama. And
Hmm.
when we can separate, they said this word, that's a fact.
Okay.
The drama we add is that means they don't care. That means I'm not important to them. That means they're annoyed at me. And so we
Hmm.
add the drama.
Oh, okay, I get it. So if someone says, I don't know, I'm gonna give you an example. I don't know. My son is mad because I ate his snack. And then I come back with, and so now he's angry at me,
Hmm.
or he's annoyed at me, or. So basically, I could have just left it at, I ate my son's snack.
Yeah. And if he's mad at you, if he says, Mom, I'm mad at you, then that is a fact. He
Hmm.
said, Mom, I'm mad at you. But what we do is we add all this. He's never going to talk to me again. He's just judging me. And we add all the drama. So
Hmm.
facts are provable, and everybody would agree. So the
Hmm.
fact is, if he said, Mom, you ate my snack and I'm mad, then you can say that is a fact. That is what he
Yes.
said. But
Okay.
anything else you add to it is brain drama.
Hmm. So
And so
yeah,
that's
you're
why,
adding those extra thoughts. That's not what
yes,
that person said. Or
yes.
yeah, okay.
And so a lot of times the brain drama is what makes us feel like crud. Like a lot of times what we're the brain, the thoughts we're having about it is what makes us feel yucky.
Hmm.
So learning how to just separate ourselves from the meaning we're adding. So words is neutral is one thing that I teach. The second thing that I teach people. Then I teach people, I think this is so powerful that we are 100% lovable, valuable, and worthy.
Hmm.
Somebody else's ability to see that is a reflection of them, not us. So if you don't see me as 100% lovable, valuable, and worthy, that's about you. It has nothing to do with me.
Yeah, and how I see myself.
Yes. But what we do a lot of times is we think, I've got to prove to them I'm lovable, valuable, and worthy. But we don't because we already
Hmm.
are. So when we can see that in ourselves, we stop people pleasing because we don't have to do or say or be anything different than we are to be 100% lovable, valuable, and worthy.
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely feel like I've done that a lot in my life, especially because I know how, well, I let how society sees somebody who's blind
Mhm.
affect how I see myself, especially when it comes
Wow.
to like different, opportunities and different things I try to do. I go above and beyond to make sure I'm independent and I do this and do that. And I think, yeah, because of society's mindset and how they think or, operate on how a blind person should behave and act and do, yeah, I've let that sometimes deter me from doing different things or experiencing different things just because I look at how I'm going to be seen.
Yeah. That's really powerful because so many of us do that, even though in your case it's about blind. But for
Hmm.
so many people, it's about what a woman should look like, what a strong woman should look like, what a mom should look like. And we look at what other people think we should look like, and we start losing ourselves and becoming what we think others think we should be.
Hmm.
And in your case, it's really related to being blind, where you have perceptions. I don't know. Have people actually told you what they think blind people should be like?
Hmm. And yeah, people have these, they always think when you hear somebody's blind, oh, they need to be taken care of. There's nothing, basically, like you should just roll over and die. Literally, that's just how
Wow.
society sees someone who doesn't have any vision. It's like there's no point in living, there's no joy in life, there's no, because you can't see. So
Have
that's the
people
be all end all.
and people have said that?
Hmm. Hmm.
Wow.
Or this minute they find out, oh, I'm so sorry. And I used to have to tell them, like, why are you sorry? I'm not
Yeah.
sorry. I don't need you to feel pity for me. I don't need you to feel sympathy. I'm not sorry. Like, I live a very good and rich life. But you would never know that because of your perception of what you think a blind person is capable of or what
Yeah.
their life would be like.
That's really interesting. I am doing a Bible study right now through my church, and the lady who we're watching on the Bible study, she is blind and she's presenting amazingly. Like she, has pictures. I'm sure somebody puts them all in order for her,
Hmm.
but I would venture to say that that has got to be shifting that perception of, because I have a daughter with Down syndrome and she's just turned 19, and I have seen this shift in perception around people with differences
Hmm.
huge since when she was born.
Yeah, and I noticed because my son, he has autism, along with different other conditions. But I notice, and we talk about this in the disability space and everything a lot, especially in blindness related groups and things. A lot of people are more accepting of other disabilities than they are of being blind. Like
Wow.
other disabilities are considered okay to have. They're more accepting if you're in a wheelchair or you have Down syndrome or you have autism. But being blind is like the lowest of the lowest on the totem pole. When it comes, like people would literally say, I can't see myself being blind. I would just kill myself. And
Wow.
that's how they see it. Like it's the worst thing ever because even with all of these other disabilities, you still have the ability to see. For people, that non-ability to see means there's life is just not worth living for.
I have never heard anything like that. That is like shocking my brain.
Yeah, we hear it and experience it. And it's unfortunate. It's like, yeah, you're more apt to get a job with any other disability than if you were blind. It's when it comes to being, yeah, it's people, society see it as the worst disability to have.
Huh. I will really have to think about that because I don't think I have. I used to work when I was in college. I worked at the office that's called Adaptive Educational Services. They helped people, which because I my dyslexia, I use the services too.
Hmm.
Um, but they helped people who had all disabilities in college,
Hmm.
and we had lots of interpreters, but also we had some blind people, and I've never heard that
Hmm.
before. So,
Yeah, because if you'll think about it, like all the software, all the, just things that makes life for blind people more, living, they're all
uh-huh.
super expensive and most blind people can't afford them.
Wow. Huh.
Like just to have a screen reader on your computer, like just to have a braille display. Like you can't have the technology or the things that you need because they're way just overpriced to where the average person am fortunate enough to have a job, but a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
And so these things are never affordable for them.
So the computers now have screen readers in them. Do you need a different type of screen reader?
So yeah, they do have like what is it called? Narrator built in, but it is still they work on it a lot, to try to make it as close to the, top brand screeners that are
Mhm.
out there, but there's still a lot that is lacking when it comes to that free screen reader.
Huh. Wow. I never
Like
thought
my
about that.
Braille display that I use costs $10,000. I would have
Wow.
never been able to afford to buy that myself. But
Yeah.
thankfully, the organization bought it for me because I needed it for my job. That a lot of times that's the only way we can get the tools
Services.
we need is if
Yeah.
we need it for school or work. In our
So,
normal everyday life, yeah, no.
so what did you, were you blind in high school? So that did they have to give you all the accommodations there?
Well, so I lost my sight during I was actually on my way to high school as far as like year wise. But I lost my sight due to child abuse. So that's how I became
Mm.
blind. And then I actually sat home for 2 years after going blind. So I did not attend school. I ended up teaching myself Braille just because, yeah, I was a writer, I was a reader, prior to losing my sight, and I didn't want to lose that. And just being like in the house all day by myself. So I learned Braille, taught myself Braille, and then eventually my mom found a school for the blind. And so
Okay.
I attended that school for a year. I, learned more advanced Braille, learned, mobility skills, how to use a cane, that type of thing. And then I went back to public school. And so yes, they did provide like the computer and all of
Okay.
that. But yeah, once you leave school, you don't have access to that stuff. Unless your
Yeah.
parents have money or there's no way you really could be able to get these things unless some kind of organization purchases them for you.
Wow. Okay. Wow. I'm getting
But yeah.
educated.
But like I've always told people, yeah, I feel like we have to go above and beyond. Like we have to be overachievers in order to be recognized. Like you have to go above and beyond to be the super blind person for people to start kind of noticing that, oh, okay, so they do live lives. Like it's but yeah, you literally have to. You can't just be a normal everyday working person.
Hmm. Yeah. Huh. So I have clients that are going deaf or are partly deaf and do hearing aids and then have to do video calls because they can't hear people in like
Hmm.
conference rooms and stuff. But yeah, I have to say I don't have any clients that are blind, so I don't hear this side of it.
Hmm. Even like when I was in therapy and I was talking to my therapist about it, because I never actually dealt with the sight loss, like just and even some of the people that I've been fortunate enough to interview on my podcast, like they've been like grief counselors and things like that, and just in losing somebody that was close to me last year. I actually realized that, of course, grief is more than just losing of a person. And then that actually made me realize that I actually never grieved the loss of going blind. Like I just kind of like tucked it away and moved on with
Yeah.
life but and just when those times get hard or when I'm really feeling down on myself, that's when it really comes out and I'm just like, wow, like I've never really dealt with it.
Yeah. Yeah. You make a really good point that a lot of times we don't grieve things until it's a death. And so my
Hmm.
experience with working with people is when somebody dies, they will find themselves over grieving. And it's really because they're grieving all the 10 things or 20 things that they never grieved: a loss of a job, a loss of sight, a loss of anything, a pet, a loss
Hmm.
of a friendship. And in our society, we don't really honor that very well, grief and adjustment. And so when there is an acceptable thing, somebody close to us dying, then we over grieve a lot of times because we're really grieving for so many other things.
Hmm. And I think it hit me because first I've never really lost anyone before because I've
Hmm.
kind of been a loner. And then I too because she was actually one of my students. Because I am a assistive technology instructor and a Braille
Okay.
instructor as well by just natural. I don't
Okay.
do it as my profession, but it's just I love to help people. And so when somebody in the community is new to becoming blind, I like to, help them learn the skills and things that, they need to, live as fulfilling of a life as they can. And she was actually an older person, and she went from being visually impaired her whole life to going totally blind due to
Wow.
a lot of her, ailments and different conditions that she had. And so she had been blind for a year. And, she was dealing with the loss of the sight and grieving that and all that. And then when she finally was coming out of that, she wanted to learn, how to use a computer and how to,
Yeah.
do things independently, even at, in her 60s. And so I think for me, her, losing that battle with, the different conditions she had and the fact that, yeah, she was my last person that I had worked with. And it was
Mm,
just like, oh, wow, you actually never dealt with your own,
yeah.
emotions when it comes to, you've always been helping everybody else, but you actually have never taken the time to grieve that.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when you ask people about grief, a lot of times they associate it with the stages of grief, but
Mm-hmm.
that's not really, those are stages we go back and forth and all that, we know that now. But
Mm-hmm.
that's not the experience of grief. The experience of grief is in our body. It's somatic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a thought. It's not thinking about the stages of grief and where you are. It's actually experiencing it. So when I teach people how to grieve, I
Mm-hmm.
actually suggest that they have a special place in their room or in their car where they feel safe. And then they put on music that aligns with that, light a candle if they want to, and just sit there and experience it in their body. So we
Mm-hmm.
think a thought about the person or the situation and then notice where it moves in your body. Does it change? Does it have a color? Does it feel sharp or dull? Does it lift? Does it move? And really staying present. You can go to
Mm-hmm.
your head and label it and be like, oh, that's anger,
Mm-hmm.
but then go back to your body and feel it. And it's not like we're going to feel good afterward, but when we really learn to feel the feelings and grieve, we will
Mm-hmm.
feel a release.
Yes. And that's exactly what I had to do. Because, yeah, there's been times where I've been like, split in my feelings about, being blind. On one hand, I feel like it was a gift because I can only imagine the type of person I would have turned out to be due to all of the childhood abuse and trauma that I did go through. I saw myself being a very angry and just bitter and just person. But then on the other hand, I'm like, it being blind may have hindered the great successful life I could have had.
Mm, yeah. Do you spend time like thinking about what could have been?
Yes, I have because prior to going blind, I was very artistically gifted. So I had opportunities that I felt were snatched away from me.
Mm,
I still am artistic and creative in a way. It's not, of course, visually anymore.
yeah.
But I do enjoy like building with Legos and doing different things to be creative. I'm a poet, so I write, I'm an author and all of that. But I do feel like, yeah, that me being able to visually express myself the way I was used to was taken away. So yeah, I think about where, yeah, that could have taken me because prior to that, I just had gotten accepted to a performing arts school for art.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, it was like 1 minute that was, and then it was gone. And I'm just like, okay, now what am I going to do?
Yeah.
With my life. And so, yeah, I got to start back writing and things that I did before, but that is where I really felt like my gifts and creativity shone, was being able, and I've tried, over the years to try to get back into more physical feeling art, but it just does not feel the same for me.
Gotcha. Do you use accommodations like when I was in college, it was Dragon Dictate where you speak into it and it will write for you? Do you have
Mm-mm.
things like that or no?
So with the screen reader, it actually basically what you see on the screen, it converts that text into audio. So I type on a
Okay.
computer just like anybody else does. It's
Okay.
just with audio. So if I
So
hit
when
the letter S, it says S. If I hit the letter F,
oh,
it says,
okay.
so you basically just learn the key commands on how to navigate just using a keyboard only.
Okay. So it'll read back to you what you're typing so you know that you have it right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Wow. Well, where do you want to go with this? What direction do you want to go?
So I definitely are there more steps that you
Yeah.
teach as far because I think you stopped at level 3 and then we kind of got yeah. I
Yeah.
think it was basically your level 3 kind of triggered yeah to go
Okay.
down this path.
So kind of just to kind of jump back to that stuff. What I want to kind of be clear on here is this isn't mindset work that I'm talking about. It's nervous system safety. So a lot of times people will say mindset is really kind of the end all be all. We go through stages and mindset was the thing for a while. And what I want
Hmm.
to be careful of is mindset doesn't change your nervous system. What you think can be helpful. So positive affirmations, wonderful, helpful. But
Hmm.
it doesn't change, those are mindset shifts. It doesn't change the nervous system. So, what I'm talking about is really creating nervous system safety. So, you
Hmm.
are learning to turn on your own safety switch and you don't need someone else to do it for you. And you know what things do that. So, when I'm talking about these different steps,
Hmm.
what I teach is the more, well, we know this. The more you practice something, the more it becomes a part of you. So,
Yes.
positive affirmations are words you're speaking into, and that's more mindset. But when we start getting to nervous system, we are creating that as a part of us, a neuropath in us. So, if you think about your brain, we have neuropaths that we've been walking for years, however old we are, thinking a certain way or behaving a certain way. And we want to change that neuropath in us to create a sense of safety. And to
Hmm.
do that, we have to practice. So I suggest 5 times a day that we practice. I know most people aren't really going to be able to do that, but it's habit stacking where you stack with other habits. So when you wake up first thing in the morning, when we wake up and go to bed, our brain is very pliable. We can, if you want to say, brainwash it very much easier. And
Hmm.
so during that alpha to beta and beta to alpha time is a great time to visualize, imagine, get details, talk to yourself, create a relationship with that self who has already accomplished what you want to do. So you're
Hmm.
not, I use the analogy of a dressing room. You're like stepping into a dressing room and trying on and going, does this fit for me? Do I like how this feels? And you're taking it on as an identity. You're
Hmm.
stepping into the person. And what will happen over time, the more you practice it, is it will start to feel more natural. And then you'll actually have a couple seconds where you're like, this is me. And then it'll fleet away and then you'll get it back. And the more you practice it, the longer you get there, the longer easier it is to get there and the longer you stay in that space. So
Hmm.
you want to practice waking up and going to bed and then breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The more you practice the identity, I call them power statement or power sentences, the identity you're stepping into, the more it actually changes the neuropath in your brain.
Hmm. Okay. Wow, I like that.
Yeah. So we really don't want to think of it as mindset shifts. It's
Yeah.
much more of a nervous system. You are stepping into and taking on this identity. You are changing the wiring in your brain. So we've all probably heard in high school neurons that fire together, wire together, that create a
Hmm.
state of mind, that create a trait in us. We
Yes.
want to create that trait in us. So it takes some time for those neurons to fire together and wire together. So we
Hmm.
have to make it a practice to step into that person we want to become.
Hmm. Okay. I like that.
So I really want to suggest like this is mindset work is a part of it, but this
Hmm.
is really much deeper than mindset work. It's not just changing how we think, it's changing our neuropaths.
Hmm. All right. So if someone is more interested in learning more about, this path and how to get started with this, do you have any like suggestions, any books, videos, anything that they may be able to, any kind of literature, anything that will help with exploring this more?
So there what I'm talking about is a lot of like neuropath stuff and it's called neuroplasticity. So you can
Hmm.
Google the neuroplasticity, which is our brain's ability to change and find all kinds of stuff. I took a training through Rick Hansen, a 30-hour, I think it was 30-hour training on neuroplasticity and how to change our brain, the makeup, the neurotransmitters in our brain, like how our paths. And that's what I did. But you can just Google neuroplasticity, and you will learn so much about how to start training your brain. A very important part is getting clear. What I teach my clients when I first see them is when we first start is getting clear on what your current self-identity is. What do you currently see and believe about yourself, and what you want your self-identity to be. We're not going to go straight there, and you're not going to on your own. You're not going to go straight there. But that is the process of getting a clear picture. So in sports, we practice all the time visualization. Like coaches help their basketball players and football players visualizing exactly what hand they use, what foot they use, how they twisted, all these things. But we don't do that very much in our own personal lives. So I would say, first, you can Google it and find out about neuroplasticity. But second, really start getting clear on who you want to be. You can't get there if you don't know what it is. So get clear on who you want to be and start building a relationship with that person. Talk to that person. I teach my clients, be like, what does she wear? What is she driving? How does she talk to people? Who is she hanging out with? Because we know the 5 people you spend the most time with influence who you become.
Yes.
And so
Wow.
who is she talking to? Who is she how is she dressing? What is she driving? What is she doing for work? How does she spend her free time? And really picturing and really growing into that person. Because if you can't picture it, you're probably not going to become it.
Wow. Yeah, that visualization is definitely very, very important.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
then in relationships, really starting to visualize that when there's conflict, a lot of us think conflict is bad. And so we avoid it. And so being like, I can handle conflict. And what does that feel like in my body when I imagine and picture handling conflict? Can I soothe myself first with just imagining it before I actually experience it? Can I turn on my safety switch and feel safe? And a lot of times people will say, well, how do I know if my safety switch is on? And what I teach is when your safety switch is on, you don't tiptoe, you don't over explain, you don't lose your self-respect. You come from a place where you're very grounded with yourself, you're very calm, you're okay with them not liking your decision. It doesn't change you. And so starting to notice, am I hijacked, or is my safety switch on and I can stay calm and grounded?
Wow. And I like the term hijack because that means basically someone else has control.
Yeah.
You don't have that control. It's being
Yeah.
controlled by someone or something else.
And what it is it's our reptile brain, our brain on our brainstem that is our fight, flight, or freeze safety. And what happens is it is a reflex to keep us safe. It is a instant reflex. Our brain is designed to scan for danger and absorb danger. And this I got from Rick Hansen's training. Our brain is designed to absorb danger instantly, but it is not with the good. So we actually need to focus 20 seconds to a minute on something good for our brain to take it in and have a change in our body, the hormones released in our body. Bad stuff, what we consider bad, our brain says danger, danger instantly. So bear, danger. And it's designed to keep us safe and alive, but we don't need that anymore. So a lot of times our brain is saying danger when there really isn't danger.
Wow. That is amazing. Amazing how the brain works and yeah, how you can have that control, get that control back by just doing, different methods and getting yourself where you need to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So starting to acknowledge, oh, I'm in a hijack or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't really matter. But for me, I started realizing it felt like I was hijacked, that I didn't have control, and that I needed to pause and take a break before I kept going. Because here's what actually happened is I would get into arguments with my husband and I would say just horrible things. And what I learned was that if I was in that space, I didn't have control. So it was my job to stop and remove myself until I could. And what happened though is looking back now, years later, I would have done it so differently. But at the time I was just like, I'm not talking to you. And he was like, you can't just do that. You can't just stop talking. And I'm like, yeah, I can. Because if I keep talking to you, I'll be mean. And so now what I would and this is what I teach my clients to do, is actually be like, hey, I love you and we're going to be okay. But I have to take a break so that I don't lose control and say mean things. And the reason I teach that is because the person that you remove yourself from feels rejected if you just leave or say, I'm not talking to you. So you want to reassure them. It's not you. It's that I need to take care of me so that I don't become hateful. And so I'm not rejecting you. I'm taking care of myself.
Yes. Wow. I think I've always actually done that, and that's why for me, I'm not a like an argumentative person. So when I'm in a relationship and there's like a dispute, even I go through this with my own child.
Mhm.
I tell him like, I'm not arguing with you. You can argue by yourself. I'm just gonna walk away,
Uh-huh.
go over here, be by myself, sit down, think about what's going on and just kind of just step away from the situation. Come back and talk when I'm feeling more calm and in my right state of mind because yes, I don't want to end up saying something I'll regret just because I'm reacting out of anger.
Yeah. And in general, I think people would say they find it easier to do with their children and even friends, where a lot of times with partnerships, we get triggered because they're usually the closest person to us. We
Hmm.
get triggered and hijacked a lot quicker.
Yes.
With our kids, we tend to be very much more compassionate.
Hmm.
So, not
And
always,
with
but we
my
can be.
son, he has ODD along with his autism, and so
Mm,
he's very argumentative, like about
yeah.
everything. And I'm like, I'm not arguing with you. I'm going to go over here. If that's what you believe, then that's what you believe. But I have not argued with you. I said I don't argue with my significant other, who's a grown adult, and I'm not arguing with a child.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
So, all right. So, is there any thing you would like to leave the listeners with as far as social media, websites, books, anything that you would like them to be able to reach out to you through?
Yeah, you can go to emotionalsafetyco.com. Again, it's emotionalsafetyco.com. And on there, I have some free resources. And it'll say free under there. And there's a quiz you can take about your brain hijack, like what symptoms you have, and then
Hmm.
what to do to start fixing it or working with it. And then there is a 20-minute mini course to help give clarity on how to work with it. And then there is a truth and a lie worksheet PDF that you can go through about relationships and connections.
Oh, wow. I like that. Okay. Sounds good. So now we have come to my favorite part of the show where we play What Is She Thinking? I will give you five random phrases. You'll tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Don't have to think too hard about it. Just something fun to get to know you after a good conversation.
Sounds great.
What is she thinking? What are her thoughts? Quick, fast, no blinking. What do you got?
All right. So your first one is relationships are,
A journey
yes, definitely. If I could go anywhere in the world, I would go
back to Africa.
back to Africa. Wow. I've actually never been. I've always wanted to go. And that's one of my places on my bucket list I would love to visit.
Yeah.
Let's see. So your next one is going to be you can't have cookies without
Well, the saying is milk. So
I was going to say chocolate chips, but
okay, that I'm down with. I don't drink milk, but I totally would do chocolate chips. So
yeah, I
yeah.
don't do milk either. Yeah, the normal reaction is always milk, but yes, I'm like, yeah, some chocolate chips with my cookies.
That is
Uh,
totally yes.
all right. So your next one is I color my day.
A color of my day?
Hmm.
Uh gosh, I would have said purple, but for some reason blue is popping into my head.
Blue. Okay. All right. So your last one is study more about yourself in order to.
Fall completely in love.
Oh, I love that.
We
All
can't love
right.
what we don't know.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you so much. Me, I have too.
And thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to follow the podcast on all social media. We are on Threads, YouTube, Facebook, let's see, what is the other one? TikTok, and also Instagram, at BFF Empowerment Podcast. Visit our website at bffempowermentpodcast.com to keep up to date with all the latest episodes and check out the blog. Also, If you would like to be a featured Women on the Rise guest on the BFF Empowerment Podcast, send an interest email to bffempowerment@gmail.com. If you enjoy this episode, be sure to leave a review or a rating on your favorite podcast platform of choice to help others enjoy and find and discover their next favorite women's empowerment podcast. And until next time, guys, thank you so much for listening. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh, there we go.
I hear ya.
Yeah, my I don't know why it keeps going off of the screen. Let's see here. Turn my speech back on. There we go.
BFF, we rise above, stronger together we shine with love.